Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are digging into an absolute earthquake in modern entertainment history. We're doing a full autopsy of the July 2026 crisis. You know, the one that literally brought a gaming empire with seemingly infinite resources right to its knees. If you want to see how a massive tech giant's master plan unravels in real time, well, you are definitely in the right place.
To really grasp the sheer scale of this collapse, we got to start with one staggering number: 3,200. On July 6, 2026, Microsoft dropped a bomb, announcing they were slashing 20% of their Xbox workforce over 12 months. That's 3,200 developers, creators, and engineers losing their jobs in a single day. It's literally the largest mass layoff in Xbox history.
The staff found out about this bloodbath through an email from Xbox's brand new CEO, Ashish Sharma. The subject line: Xbox's most significant restructure in history. I mean, behind that carefully crafted, super diplomatic corporate speak, the reality was just bitter. The company had hit a massive brick wall, and these huge, immediate cuts were pretty much the only way forward.
Section 1. The Day the Empire Fell. Uncovering the Clues. Okay, let's dive into this.
Seriously, how does a gaming platform backed by a trillion-dollar megacorporation find itself in such a wild tailspin? Just look at the absolute canyon between Microsoft's fantasy projections and harsh market reality. They were banking on 77 million Game Pass subscribers by 2026. What did they actually get? 30 million. They projected a 15% bump in hardware revenue, but instead it tanked by 33%. And to try and plug those massive holes, the flagship Series X, a console that originally launched at $499, suddenly shot up to $800. That massive gap between expectation and reality, that's exactly what pushed Xbox off the cliff.
Now, a disaster of this magnitude doesn't just happen overnight, right? It was a slow build. The whole strategy actually kicked off back in 2020 when leadership decided, hey, let's shift Xbox from a traditional console into this all-encompassing ecosystem. And to feed that beast, they spent absolutely astronomical amounts of cash. We're talking $7.5 billion for Bethesda in 2020, and then a mind-blowing $68.7 billion for Activision Blizzard in 2023. But by 2024, the cracks were really starting to show with a first wave of 1,900 layoffs. Fast forward to 2025, they're forcing these aggressive price hikes on the hardware, which leads us directly into the massive 3,200-person cut in July 2026.
Section 2. The Game Pass Illusion.
So, the absolute linchpin of this whole era was Game Pass. In case you need a refresher, it's a monthly subscription offering unlimited access to a massive library of games. Microsoft's grand overarching vision was essentially to become the Netflix of gaming. They completely expected this subscription model to just replace traditional game sales altogether.
But here's the thing. Applying that Netflix model to gaming, it was a massive logic flaw from the get-go. Think about it. Movies and TV shows are highly consumable. You watch a movie once, you're done, you move on to the next one. Games, on the other hand, are deeply interactive and incredibly time-consuming. A major release can easily eat up 50 to 100 hours of your life. Because of that, most gamers really only play and buy maybe 2 or 3 major games a whole year. So asking them to shell out $120 a year for this giant library they literally don't have the time to play, it just didn't make sense for the average person.
Microsoft basically bet their entire financial future on hitting that magic 77 million subscriber mark. But reality hit them like a freight train. They missed that target by a staggering 47 million users. Think about that. They only hit 39% of their goal. And without those tens of millions of missing subscribers footing the bill every month, those billions of dollars spent buying up studios, they just couldn't be justified anymore.
Section 3. The Fall of Legendary Studios. Look, when a giant corporation misses its targets by 61%, the fallout hits the actual creators hard. These aren't just spreadsheet numbers. These are legendary legacy institutions that were completely gutted. In Software, the literal creators of Doom had roughly 50% of their staff slashed. That's over 90 people gone, right in the middle of developing a major DLC. Obsidian Entertainment, they lost a quarter of their workforce. ZeniMax Online lost half its team. Meanwhile, studios like Ninja Theory and Undead Labs were sold off entirely, and others like Double Fine and Compulsion were basically shoved back out into independence. Overnight, they lost all of Microsoft's financial backing and support networks. Just brutal.
The human and, frankly, historical cost here is just profound. John Romero, the legendary co-founder of id Software, posted this message, and that very last line really hits you. He said, "I hope someone is working to preserve it all." Our sources highlight a massive, growing fear in the industry right now. With cuts this incredibly deep, all that institutional knowledge, the absolute technical mastery of these proprietary game engines, and the very legacy of these iconic studios, it all risks being lost forever.
Section 4. 3 fatal strategic errors.
So you really have to ask yourself, how does a company with access to the best talent on Earth and basically unlimited cash fail this spectacularly? Well, the analysis boils it down to 3 fatal steps that unraveled the Xbox empire. First up, cannibalizing their own game sales. Second, a multi-platform strategy that totally backfired. And third, hardware pricing that straight up defied basic economics. Let's look closely at how each one played out.
Error number 1. Cannibalization. By throwing massive $70 blockbuster games, like Starfield, onto Game Pass on day one, Microsoft effectively torched their own physical and digital sales. I mean, why on earth would you buy a game for $70 when you can play the exact same thing for $10? Plus, it accidentally trained consumers into this high-churn behavior. Players would just subscribe for a single month, binge the big new release, and then immediately cancel. Microsoft completely failed to retain those long-term, paying users they desperately needed.
Error number 2, the multi-platform backfire. So in this desperate scramble for short-term software revenue, Microsoft started releasing highly anticipated Xbox exclusives, games like Indiana Jones and Sea of Thieves, over on the PlayStation 5 and Steam. But by doing that, they completely wiped out the number one reason consumers buy a specific console in the first place: exclusive games. Honestly, if you can play all of Xbox's best games on a PlayStation, you literally have zero incentive to ever buy an Xbox.
Now, what's really interesting about this next point is the sheer absurdity of the pricing strategy. It was truly the final nail in the coffin. As hardware sales are tanking and subscriber numbers are flatlining, what does Microsoft do? They hike the price of the standard Xbox Series X from $499 all the way up to $800. Think about that. That made a weaker console significantly more expensive than Sony's upgraded $700 PlayStation 5 Pro. Hiking the price of a less powerful box by 60% while offering fewer exclusives? Yeah, that predictably led to a massive 33% collapse in hardware revenue. No surprise there.
Section 5. Future Outlook. Can Xbox survive?
So, with the ecosystem this badly fractured, what is the endgame? Interestingly, in that exact same email announcing the layoffs, CEO Asha Sharma laid out a brand new goal: to entertain 1 billion daily active users across the Xbox ecosystem. 1 billion. But let's do a quick reality check here based on the tech analysis. Steam, which is undeniably the undisputed titan of PC gaming, peaks at roughly 42 million concurrent users. To hit 1 billion daily users, Xbox would need something like 1 in 8 people on planet Earth logging in every single day. Analysts are pointing out this is virtually impossible. It's most likely just a repositioning tactic to placate Wall Street shareholders, trying to spin Xbox as a massive ecosystem rather than, a failing console.
So what does a realistic survival scenario actually look like for them? The analysis predicts Xbox is going to transition into more of a hybrid, secondary player. They'll probably still release their next-gen Project Helix console, but expect it to be highly priced and super niche. Game Pass? It'll keep shambling along, but we're looking at slow, prolonged growth, not the explosive numbers they wanted. Ultimately, that multi-platform strategy is going to take the wheel. Most Xbox games will just release on PlayStation and PC anyway, effectively shifting Microsoft away from being a dominant hardware leader and turning them into essentially a third-party software publisher.
Which leaves us with this really provocative question. Microsoft threw billions of dollars, legendary studios, and the entire weight of their tech empire at the subscription model, and it resulted in catastrophic layoffs. If an empire with infinite resources couldn't make the subscription model work, is the Netflix of gaming era already over before it even began? It's a massive question the entire industry is going to have to reckon with. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the strategies shaping our digital worlds.